Hey, good morning, my people. What's up? Hope and trust that all is going good with you today is Thursday, the seventh day of May, 2026, and the time right now is 7:29 a.m. Well, I wanted to wait a little bit until I would have heard or read something coming out of the UPP before I say anything. That is, having the election having been completed. Thus far, I have heard from the chairwoman of the UPP via a piece that was published. One of her pieces that was published in the Daily Observer. I believe it was on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. And the piece was captioned, in this plywood built democracy. And yes, it was written on Tuesday the 5th. Yes, the 5th of May, 2026. If I was going to grade the chairwoman on that piece, I would give her a grade of 85%. I would give her a grade of 85% if I was going to grade her. I understood what she was saying. I don't necessarily agree with all that she was saying. I don't necessarily agree that some of the things that happened would have changed how some person would have voted materially, one side or the next. Um, but the part in that piece that stood out to me, and it's amazing how some people see what they want to see and don't see what they don't want to see. But I'll get to that a little later. The part that stood out to me was this part, where she says, "No, it is beyond an open secret that the opposition party, since 2024, was plagued by internal upheavals, defections, and double agents. Why 2024? That's when Pringle became the leader, not interim leader, the substantive leader. Right. So since then, it's an open secret that the opposition party, since 2024, was plagued by internal upheavals, defections, and double agents. What remained a secret until recently was how early the outside interventions began and how deeply they had penetrated. And until the instigator himself gave times and places, the favorite scapegoat took the beating for that. And I believe that the favorite scapegoat who she was referring to would have been herself. I'm going to come back to that paragraph there. Added to all this was the stone cold fact that the will of the convention delegates was disregarded, dishonored, and disrespected in public view by those to whom loyalty and unity meant little, and then constantly amplified in the media. I want to go up back to the paragraph before that. What remained the secret until recently was how early the outside interventions began and how deeply they had penetrated. That is how deeply these outside interventions had penetrated the United Progressive Party. And until the instigator himself gave times and places, the favorite scapegoat took the beating for that. That was her. Why that? Why I'm intrigued with that? I follow international news. I don't know how many of you do. And if you're following the what had happened in the between Israel and Hezbollah, was it Hezbollah or Hamas? Was it Hezbollah or Hamas? They had an incident where they referred to as the Beeper incident. That's when the Mossad, that is Israel's spy agency, um, infiltrated. I think it might have been Hamas. I think it might have been Hamas. infiltrated the organization. That there was a time when members of the Hamas organization um, was impacted by um, um, devices, bombing devices in beepers and walkie-talkie and that kind of stuff. And it was when that happened that Hamas recognized how infiltrated the organization, or how the Mossad had infiltrated, how deeply that infiltrated the organization. And when I read this, my mind ran back to that. When I read this, my mind ran back to that. And also, as I keep saying all the time, as I keep saying all the time, remember now, these people, some of these people here in the UPP, some of them, remember they say Gaston Brown is a dictator. Remember they say Chet can't raise his head for leadership because Gaston Brown it is and Gaston Brown and that. But here, in their organization, they carried out a democratic process. And to use the word of the chairman, and I think so correctly too, she said, the stone cold fact is that the will of their convention delegates was disregarded, dishonored, and disrespected in public view by those whom loyalty and unity meant little. And then the constant amplification of it in the media. Of course, there were uncertain shows, etc., 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 etc. Now, I listened to this idiot, and those are my words. I listened to this idiot last night, and he was the representative of the UPP in the St. Mary's South constituency. And I, for one, am glad that he lost his seat. I mean, persons who I speak to and I say publicly, I never thought he would have lost because I figured that the constituents, the UPP constituency over there, or constituents, sorry, over there, would have carried him through. It had nothing to do with him. It never had nothing to do with him for me in terms of winning. I was thinking of the loyalty of the constituents to the UPP. And I'm glad to see that they have seen the light and kicked this idiot to the curb. I'm glad to see that. I'm not sorry at all. Because the UPP or persons in the UPP leadership was afraid to do it. I am on the record of saying he could not have been on a ticket, on my ticket, if I was running the UPP. Not he. Not he. He couldn't be there. I would have preferred to have lost the seat than to run with him. But that was my position. I said it already. I'm not going over that again. As I said, I'm not going over that again. But I'm glad to see that. Well, I listened to this idiot last night because I wanted to hear. I didn't want anybody to tell me. I wanted to hear for myself. So I listened to a portion of it. And he waxed eloquently as to the UPP have a leadership problem or a leader problem. And that affected all constituencies in relation to Antigua. That's what he said. That's my understanding of what he said. Y'all can go and listen to it yourself if y'all want to hear. But that is my understanding of what he said. And he totally ignored what the chairwoman rightfully penned and what we all know out here, if we're going to be honest with ourselves. He totally ignored the stone cold fact that their convention delegates made a democratic decision. And he was one of them, in my opinion, that went about undermining that democratic decision. He was one of them that went about doing that, in my opinion. That is the conclusion that I draw from watching his actions and listening to his words. But glad he lose. But glad he lose. Now he's talking about, well, seemingly wanting to say that he will run again, or he doing. You people, I get real. I get real. I've heard that some persons want to contest or other persons want to contest on the UPP behalf in that constituency. And I encourage him to go forward. He's an idiot, in my opinion. No, finally. I'm not going to be long this morning because I want to go back and listen to the crying on the radio station. But if according to him, this idiot, that Pringle as leader hampered all constituencies on Antigua from a UPP standpoint, he better believe that if he is included on a future ticket of the UPP, at least one constituency will be hampered by him and will not be voting for the UPP in future. At least one constituency. And that one constituency is going to be the constituency that I vote in. I could never vote for the UPP with this idiot on the ticket. Never. And I suspect that there's some others. Because I've listened to them, I've spoken to some. And I believe I have some level of influence on how small a number it is outside of the St. Mary's South constituency to go that route. Not he. Not what they would have done. And that is the issue for me. Gaston Brown is a dictator. Labour Party is a cult. This is that. This is that. And what? What did you do in your Democratic Party? Your Democratic Party. What did you do in the party that it's not a cult? What did you do? What did the majority say? And you can imagine, as I said yesterday, I am learning that up to days before the general elections, and people still are trying to my Pringle. And I come to the public and say, oh, they're so united. Somebody WhatsApp me, responded to a friend of mine responded to a post that I would have made. Let me see if I could pull it up quickly. I would want to read it. Let me see if I could pull it up quickly. Where is it? Come on. Where is it? I read it this morning. Oh Lord. I can't believe that I missed it. Well, I didn't really plan on using it in the recording this morning, but just as I'm saying it now, it is important. I believe it just come up important. Where is it? I'm gonna find it shortly. Just bear with me a little. Okay, yes, Dave, you know the one who wanted to be the representative where I live. Call my phone and in a conversation prove he's still looking to get Pringle out, even after the election. He said the Constitution say that it is not automatic that the leader of the party will be prime minister. They were definitely not united. And that's why I was one of the 30-something% who didn't see the need to stand in hot sun and waste my time and energy. I don't know if she's living in the same area where I know she used to live. I'm going to give her a call to find out. And I did say that. I did say that in a video months ago now. I did say that in a video months ago. We don't vote for Prime Minister in Antigua. It's the members of parliament on his side who decide who the Prime Minister is. And I never thought if the UPP had won the election, I never thought that they would have voted for Pringle as Prime Minister. I said it. I said it publicly. I said it publicly. I said it publicly. But God is good. God is good. I hear him saying, or I hear some people saying, oh, Pringle won because Pringle is in a safe seat. Also, St. Mary, so it was not a safe seat for UPP. Yeah? My people, boy, if you know how this world is, right? If you know how this world is. But as Harville Grant would say, walk good, my people. Bless up. Have a safe day and keep good. But remember UPP. Yes, y'all up to say it's an internal process and this and that. Yes. I agree. But one thing I'm glad I see again, because you all knew, I can't win no election without the wider support outside of your party. And this idiot, I keep you on. Let's see what happens in the future. Until we meet together again, my people, take care and bless up.